Good morning, sir. Sir, shall we start?
Yes, certainly. I'm ready. Did you hear me? Did you
Yeah,
hear
you're
me?
starting, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You're audible.
All right.
Thank you. Yes. Good morning and warm welcome to the webinar, America New Dawn, organized by the Internal Quality Assurance Cell of St. George's College, Arivithara. Well, these virtual days have been literally a period of exploring the unknown for SGC with a number of webinars and other online programs. This time, the topic is a hot bread, fresh from the oven, the American presidential elections. After days of nail-biting suspense over the outcome of the election, the Biden team wins a clear mandate and the United States of America wakes into a new dawn. Of course, the challenges for the new president are unprecedented, and it's quite appropriate that we discuss the shapers of destiny of America, which can still determine the destiny of the world nations to a great extent. And at the beginning itself, I would like to call upon our very reverend principal, Dr. Reggie Verghese Garden, to render the word of welcome. Over to you, sir. Over to you, Reggie, sir.
Esteemed Manager, Very Reverend Dr. Agustin Balikeparmbil, Honorable Ambassador T.P. Sreenivasan sir, respected Bursar and Course Coordinator Father George Bulliganai, respected IQC Coordinator Professor Jilu John, Dr. Sumesh George, Within John, respected teachers, students, and other participants. As we know today, we are going to start an international webinar on the topic America, a New Dawn. Here, my responsibility is to welcome you all to this auspicious function. I would like to welcome our esteemed manager, Very Reverend Dr. Agustin Balikeparambil, who presides over this function. Our manager is always ready to help and guide us in all organizational matters, and we are extremely indebted to him. And he is a person of vision and action, and who provides the major source of energy and inspiration for all the activities of the college, both academic and otherwise. On behalf of all present here, I send you, Very Reverend Dr. Agustin Balikeparambil, a hearty welcome to this function. Today's international webinar is significant on various grounds. Firstly, the topic of webinar is highly relevant as to the contemporary international system, particularly relating to the American presidency. The whole process of election and smooth transfer of power relating to the President of United States of America has ever been an interesting topic of discussion, not only among the academic circles, but also among the political chants of the common people, mainly due to the fact that America continues to be a nation known for its democratic way of life in all respects. Secondly, the resource person itself is none other than Ambassador T.P. Sreenivasan sir, a giant figure among diplomats and a renowned academician in the field of world politics. As all of us know, Ambassador T.P. Sreenivasan sir has been widely accepted by all sections of people, including the academia and the ordinary people, as a great diplomat, ambassador in various countries, and deputy chairman of Kerala Higher Education, State Higher Education Council, and the like. I am happy to register here that our college is lucky enough that our own former HOD of Physics Department, now the member of Kerala Public Service Commission, Professor Lopez Matthew, has been a close friend of Sreenivasan sir, and that paved the way for the presence of Sreenivasan sir here in this international webinar. As a key resource person, on behalf of all present here, I am very happy to welcome you, sir, to this function.
Thank you.
Our course coordinator and Bursa, Reverend Father George Bulliganai, is here. The help, assistance, and support from the part of Father is conducting programs like this have been remarkable. And I am very happy to welcome dear Father. The academic quality of a college largely depends upon the involvement and interference from the part of IQC, and therefore I am very happy to welcome our IQC coordinator, Dr. Jilu and John, assistant coordinators, Dr. Sumesh George, Professor Midhu John, to this function. On behalf of the college, I am very happy to welcome all the teachers, students, and other participants who come forward to attend this function. Let me conclude my welcoming all of you once again. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I'd like to call upon our Reverend Manager, Very Reverend Dr. Augustine Palakapparambil, whose graceful presence and sublime thoughts add momentum to all our activities. For the presidential address, Father, please.
Most respected Ambassador Sri T.P. Sreenivasan sir, Dr. Ejju Father George Pulligalail, the course coordinator and bursar of the college, esteemed teachers, dear students, parents. This is a very beautiful and memorable day in the history of our college as we welcome this day to our college one of the most renowned persons of this state, Ambassador Sreenivasan. The whole world is waiting to see the policies of the new administration in USA. There is a wonderful synchronization in our today's webinar. We have the right topic, the right resource person to introduce it to us, and the right time to discuss it. Now, Joe Biden, the president-elect, has said, "I will govern as an American president. There will be no red states and blue states when we win, just the United States of America." Now we hope Joe Biden and Kamala Harris together will regain the true American spirit of freedom, democracy. Let me congratulate the coordinators of this program, especially for making us available this great personality to our teachers, students, and to our parents. Most respected Ambassador Sreenivasan sir, my very special greetings. I have been in the United States for long 9 years. So everything that is said about the United States is very much important for me also. Thank you. Welcome to our prestigious institution.
Thank you, Father. Now I'd like to call upon Reverend Father George Pulligalail, our bursar and course coordinator, for a brief felicitation.
Good morning. Do you hear me? Good morning.
Father, yes, Father, we can hear you.
Respected Manager, Very Reverend Dr. Augustine Palakapparambil, today, respected Principal, Dr. Ejju Mekaden, today's Chief Guest, most respected T.P. Sreenivasan sir, dear respected teachers, students, and parents. It's a really great, joyous moment for St. George's College that T.P. Sreenivasan sir, former ambassador to America, here on this online platform, addressing our students, parents, and teachers on the topic, America, a New Dawn. I'm quite sure that our students and teachers definitely benefit from this online webinar. I wish you all the very best to Sreenivasan sir and those who participate in this webinar. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Father. Now we're moving on to the most thrilling part of this session. It's a real privilege and honor for us to listen to a luminary diplomat, a formidable presence in the educational and social scenario of our country. Esteemed Ambassador T.P. Sreenivasan is a foreign diplomat and Vice Chairman and Executive of the Kerala State Higher Education Council, who has an illustrious diplomatic career of almost 4 decades. A former ambassador and permanent representative of India to United Nations, Vienna, and Governor for India of the International Atomic Energy Agency, Vienna, and ambassador to Austria and Slovenia. Esteemed T.P. Sreenivasan sir has served Indian Foreign Service for almost 37 years. His previous postings were as Deputy Chief of Mission in the Embassy of India, Washington, High Commission of India to Kenya, and Permanent Representative of India to the United Nations in Nairobi, Ambassador and Deputy Permanent Representative of India to United Nations, New York, and Ambassador to Fiji and 8 other South Pacific Island states. He has chaired several UN committees and conferences and has 20 years of experience in multilateral diplomacy. He has a creditable academic record as a student. He has penned about 4 books, and he's a regular columnist to a variety of magazines and newspapers. And in fact, we are really privileged to have you amidst us today, sir. A wholehearted welcome to you. Now the platform is yours. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much for that very generous introduction. Reverend Manager, distinguished principal of St. George's College, faculty, students, parents, and friends. I recall my visit to your college some time ago, thanks to my good friend, Professor Lopez, who used to be a member of the Council for Higher Education in Kerala. We worked together for about 3.5 years. And I recall with gratitude the contribution that he has made to the work of the council. This is a welcome opportunity for me to talk about the United States. The Reverend Manager said that he spent 9 years in the United States. I have beat him by 1 year because I spent 10 years in the United States. But he is pretty close, so he must be knowing the United States as well as I do. But the United States is in a great crisis at this moment. And if you look back at the last 4 years, we would be confused as to what is happening to the greatest democracy in the world, the wealthiest country in the world, the most famous country for research and development, and a leader of the world in more sense than one. It was a very depressing period, almost a nightmare. And we have all been waiting to see a change. And that change has come, or it's about to come, because the forces that ruled the United States for 4 years are still resisting the change. And there can be a lot more drama before the actual change takes place. But one thing is certain, and I've been saying this right through these tragic years, that United States cannot be wished away. Countries like China felt at the height of the pandemic that this was their opportunity to step into the void left by the United States in the leadership of the world. And that is why we saw that in spite of the pandemic and the crisis all around the world, China decided to flex its muscles in different parts of the world, starting from the Himalayas down to the Indian Ocean, South China Sea, Taiwan, and Hong Kong. But that is almost over, because the United States under President Joe Biden will certainly lead the world again and will restore it to its glory. But what are the prospects of that? I worked in the United States, particularly in Washington during the time of a Democratic government, that of President Clinton. And before that also, I have watched both Republican presidents and Democratic presidents, as we know from John F. Kennedy, Clinton, Obama. All these Democratic presidents have had their own charm and their own appeal to the people of India. But it is wrong to say that only Democratic presidents have been friendly to us. Republican presidents also, particularly George Bush, who made a huge difference to India-US relations by agreeing to sign the nuclear deal, can never be forgotten. So what one should see in this context of looking at all the 45 presidents of the past, we'll find that after India's independence, the India-US relations have always been bipartisan, when it was good as well as when it became better. People speak of India-US relations as a roller coaster ride. Children would remember what excitement they have when you are on a roller coaster. You go up very slowly and gradually, You feel very comfortable. And then once you reach the top, most unexpectedly, you fall with a great force and your heart comes to your mouth. And then you feel gratified when you touch the ground. But then there it goes again. And this is an experience that none of us can forget. And this is exactly the experience that you get if you look at the history of India-US relations. There have been many developments in the world which determined this relationship. So it is not dependent on individuals or parties, but on global changes that developed India-US relations. During the Cold War, we used to call it two estranged democracies. Two democracies who have very many common values, expectations, language, ideals were estranged during the Cold War because the United States felt that if you are not with them, you are against them. So that was also a nightmare for us till the Cold War ended. They dismissed us as a satellite of the Soviet Union. Although ideologically, we were far from the Soviet Union in every respect. But mercifully, that period ended. By 1992, we started a new relationship with the United States. And President Clinton was the one who initiated a major study to see the complementarities of these two democracies. And he wanted to know what was wrong. And so a major study was made, and the recommendation was that it was time for India and the United States to become strategic partners. Because imagine looking at the record of both the countries, it appeared that we were natural allies who were estranged. So then a period of engagement began. And President Clinton was very keen to come to India. And when Prime Minister Gujral was the Prime Minister of India, that he planned a trip. And I was at that time in Kenya, and since Prime Minister Gujral was my ambassador in Moscow, and he knew me well, he posted me specially to Washington to deal with this visit. That was end of 97. But first, Mr. Gujral lost his position. And secondly, there was an election. And then there was a new government under Mr. Bajpai. And within 31 days, he did something which the United States would never forgive us for, which is the nuclear explosions of May 11, 1998. It is, of course, a sovereign decision that we took, but the Americans saw it as India undermining the whole global architecture of disarmament. Out of the 193 countries, or now 195 countries in the world, only 3 countries did not sign the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty, which the United States had thought was the foundation for controlling nuclear weapons. But we did not join because the treaty was discriminatory. It discriminated between those who have weapons and those who do not have weapons. And those who have weapons can keep their weapons, while those who do not have nuclear weapons cannot manufacture it anymore. So we stood firm on this, that everybody would be alike, that everyone should give up their nuclear weapons, and then India will not manufacture them either. But the discrimination that not nuclear weapon states of the past can continue to possess their nuclear weapons and deny the same to the rest of the world, we thought was very unjust. And this was unjust also because if nuclear weapons are a guarantee for security for some countries, how can they not be required for the other countries to ensure their own security? In fact, the time was there when every major country in the world had either nuclear weapons or they had nuclear weapon umbrellas, which means guarantees by the nuclear weapons to protect them. So India, the second largest country in the world by population, was denied either a nuclear umbrella or nuclear weapons. And this is something that we did not tolerate. And the 1998 test was a demonstration of that. So the roller coaster fell like a thud because the same President Clinton, who was in love with India in so many ways, said, I shall come down on these guys like a ton of bricks, he said. And that's what he did. For the next 2 years, where our estrangement became enmity to the extent that India and the US went through a deep crisis. Can you imagine diplomats from both sides sitting across the table and not speaking to each other? That was the regime that the Americans imposed on us. But fortunately, the ice melted and 2-year conversations between Mr. Jaswant Singh and Mr. Talbot, negotiations which extended for 2 years, that India-US relations became normal, and President Clinton visited India in early 2000, and Mr. Vajpayee visited United States end of 2000. So this was a major change, and we became what was not then called from estranged democracies to engaged democracies. And since then, things have improved more and more. And the time of President Obama, we became what are called major defense partners. It was Obama's second visit to India in 2015, which led the way to an understanding on India's and US's common responsibilities in what is now called the Indo-Pacific, which extends all the way in the Indian Ocean to the Pacific, with India at the center of it. And this got further strengthened during Mr. Trump's days. Mr. Trump, with all its madness, was fairly friendly to India. I won't say he was friendly to India, but he had identified certain advantages in being friendly to India because he was a very opportunistic president. And just a few days before he lost the election, because he still claims that he has not lost it, that a major agreement was signed between India and the United States, which made us almost allies, not just friends. And together with that emerged what is called the quadrilateral, 4 countries of the world: United States, Japan, Australia, and India became some kind of a group to not to confront China, but at least to contain it. It is not a military alliance, but with the status of a close major defense partner and a member of the Quad, India and the United States have become more friendly than ever before. So it's our good fortune that the elections turned out the way most people in the world wanted. But 2 things surprised all of us. Number one, how come 70 million adults in America voted for President Trump? This is unbelievable. Because everything that we did during that period, except for satisfying his own followers in the United States, that is the white, uneducated, sometimes religiously fanatic kind of people who did not believe in the equality of human beings. The rest of the country, as well as the world, were in a state of uncertainty. because of the total unpredictability and sometimes insanity of President Trump. The way he handled the coronavirus and sacrificed the lives of 250,000 Americans is totally unforgivable. If only if he had believed in science, if only he had accepted the advice of people like Dr. Fauci, and if only he had listened to the governors of the various states, such a tragedy would not have befallen the United States. Secondly, the economy collapsed because he attributes the economy collapse of the economy to the lockdown in which he did not believe. But to say that you need not wear a mask, to say that you need not keep social distancing, to say that you don't need to wash your hands, he really got this blood of these 240,000 Americans onto his hand. So the fact that he got 70 million voters with him was unbelievable. And secondly, more unbelievable was that this great country could not manage an election. Every time we see an American election, we feel very proud of our elections. Ours is chaotic enough. We just saw what was happening in Bihar. But at least we produced the results in one day, as against months that the Americans did. I was in the United States when the election took place between Al Gore and George Bush. We were in a Los Angeles hotel trying to follow the results. And we fell asleep again and again. Every time we woke up, we found a new president. Once we woke up, it was George Bush. Another time we woke up, it was another president, his opponent. We even watched the concession speech Al Gore made for Bush, and then he withdrew it. So such drama, such comedy is not visible in many democratic countries. So these were the two surprises. But what was not a surprise was that they decided to elect a president who has a long history of public service. As a senator, as the vice president, and they decided that an odd millionaire or billionaire is not the one to lead the country, but a solid, experienced administrator. Joe Biden has all these qualities, and we have seen him when Obama was president. In the many things that Obama did for India, Obama was not the president when the nuclear deal was signed. Initially, Obama was against the nuclear deal. But subsequently, Joe Biden revealed that it was he who felt strongly that the nuclear deal was as important to the United States as for India. Because he had also discovered a few years ago that he had relatives in India during the East India Company 3 generations ago. So it's not only Kamala Harris who has a link with Chennai. Mr. Biden also has a link with Chennai, which lasted several generations. But that is not what we should look at. What we should look at is what Mr. Biden stands for. He wrote a very interesting and exhaustive article in this famous magazine called Foreign Affairs in March, April 2020. That was before the pandemic had become so severe. But he spelled out his entire strategy in foreign policy as president. And there are very many things. His attachment to democratic countries. He gives very interesting calculation that 25% of the world's wealth is in the hands of the United States, and the other 25% is in the hands of the democratic countries of the world. And if all the democratic countries unite with the United States, then you will have half the wealth of the world. And then no totalitarian state, neither China nor Russia, will be able to confront that 50% of the world's wealth. He also said that he will have what is called a middle class foreign policy. What he meant was that his foreign policy will aim at making the life of the middle class people in the United States better, in the sense that he will make available opportunities, he will create opportunities for American producers to sell their goods around the world. So his priority is very clear on that. Coming to India, addressing a group of Indian Americans who extended support to him and to Kamala Harris, he said that India should be a center of US foreign policy, because not only because it is the biggest democracy, but also because of the very many connections they have, including the connection with the 3.5 million Indian Americans. And then the rest of his foreign policy was also very well laid out. His views about Russia, his views about China, who has become hostile and an adversary, the biggest adversary of the United States. And this context also, he believed that the latest agreement between India and the United States to help each other in the event of Chinese aggression is also very significant. So though we may not see the drama that was enacted by Trump, with the Howdy Modi in Houston and Namaste Trump in Gujarat and various pronouncements and declarations of Trump, you will find a very steady, consistent, and predictable president. This is very important. These are the three things that the whole world is looking for. A consistent president, a predictable person, and someone whom you can trust. And that is applicable to the rest of the world and more so to India. So this is indeed a new dawn after a nightmare. I felt like we had just woken up from a nightmare to see that, oh my God, this is not real. The real world is a new dawn. So we have reasons to feel confident that, first of all, America will rise from its ashes. Biden has already established a group of scientists to help him fight the coronavirus. It's not going to be easy because the coronavirus grew while the elections campaign was taking place. In fact, day before yesterday was the most acute day on which the number of new cases in the United States increased. So America became first, not in other things, but in terms of the number of coronavirus patients on their soil. It's already appointed a committee, and there are 2 Indian scientists on that committee. You might have heard the name of Mr. Vivek Murthy, who was the Surgeon General at the time of President Obama, and some other scientists. The other thing that's priority to him is the economy, but that will have to follow the coronavirus, and he has to have restrictions before it is all thrown open. And the third thing that he will do is to bring back some normalcy in race relations. It is true that race relations in the United States have never been satisfactory, regardless of the President Trump being the first black American president, and many race elimination of racism and race relations America by very many people inspired by Mahatma Gandhi, it had still remained. And in fact, when President Obama left or retired as president, he said, one thing I regret is that I have not been able to remove the race discrimination in the country. And he said with great feeling that he said, if I had not become president and if I had walked around in the United States as an ordinary black American, I would have faced the same animosity and the same atrocities that other black Americans have faced. And that's a huge commentary on the lifestyle. And then right in the middle of all this was the killing of a black American. And the whole country broke into a revolt. And not only black Americans, but also white Americans participated in it. And this is another problem that he has to resolve. I cannot imagine how a man can cope with so many crisis situations, so many challenges that the United States has faced. So it has to come back to the center of the world. It has to lead the world in economics, in environment. That is the other thing he has to do. He has to restore all the agreements from which Mr. Trump walked out, like the Paris Agreement, the Iranian nuclear deal, Cuba relationship, so many trade agreements that Mr. Trump had cancelled. So it's a huge responsibility. But the one thing that remains difficult is the refusal of President Trump to accept defeat. Of course, he will go to the court. That is quite common in the United States. In the United States, going to the court is a hobby for everybody. Anybody will go to a court. And they are very fond of going to courts. So that is very normal. But if he goes beyond that and creates a situation, intolerable situation of not leaving the White House, or the police having to arrest him and physically remove from the White House, that will be a big disgrace. It will be even a bigger disgrace if he opens out a revolt, because he had told his white boys to stand in readiness before the election. So this is still a huge cloud hanging over the United States. But let's hope and pray that all this will disappear and we will come out of it. The United States will come out of it. And this new relationship will also lead to our own security and territorial integrity in the face of the threat from China. I shall stop here, and then if there are any questions, I shall be happy to answer that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We are at the end of highly informative talk on very relevant topic, America New Dawn. Now the platform is open for discussion. Sir, can you spare a few minutes for interaction?
Sure.
Okay. Sir, one question. Sir, in your opinion, what would be the Joe Biden's government stand in continuing START? Will they withdraw after February 2021 as threatened by Trump government, or push for a new START and inclusion of China also into treaty?
No, I didn't understand that. What treaties are you talking about?
START, I mean Strategic Arms Reduction Treaty.
Oh, I see. Well, that may not be a big priority. See, strategic arms limitation is only limiting the capacity to kill. There's no elimination. US and USSR sat together and said, why do we spend so much money on nuclear weapons? Reduce the number of nuclear weapons. We have the capacity to now kill the world 54 times. Is it necessary? And so they decided to reduce some missiles and weapons. This is not an important treaty. And that has become irrelevant because China is also a nuclear weapon state and they are also in the race. So why they cancelled it was because they want to have a new treaty with China in it. Because otherwise there's no meaning that both these countries restrict their nuclear weapons and China developing it more. So that was a practical thing, but that will not be a priority for Biden.
Okay, sir. Another question, sir. How the new transformation, I mean, the new government policy, how it affects the education, especially doing research in universities in America, and also the job opportunities? Because the previous government, there are some restrictions.
Well, that's all changed. As far as visa for Indians is concerned, Mr. Biden has already said that he will open up visas for technical persons. And that was the worry that we had. The H-1B visas were suspended. And there was a threat of it being cancelled. And that's blocked thousands of Indian technologists who are wanting to go and work in the US. Partly because of the opportunities there are also. Not only money or prestige, but also the scientists in India are not able to work as effectively as they can do abroad. That is why Indians get Nobel Prizes when they go to the United States and UK, not when they work here. So therefore, there was a little gap developing and that will be met. Education, Trump said at one time that we don't want foreign students. That will also be a stupid decision. And that will also change. So, but it will take time. Initially, I think this year will be, well, 2020 is gone. But 2021, early 2021 will also not be very, very good for this aspect. But it will certainly mend itself and we'll go back to normal. I'm not suggesting that every Indian scientist should go to the US. But I don't see it as a brain drain. It's only a brain overflow. We have enough brain here. Let them work there and send us back the money and the science. And we have enough people to run this country. That's my approach to that. So there's no harm in good people going away because we have enough good people in our country.
Okay, sir. Sir, another question from Joby Joseph. Sir, in your opinion, what are the likely changes in moral values of US society can be expected in the new dawn with the Biden government? Will they change from Black Lives Matter chant to All Lives Matter kind of values?
Well, it'll happen. I don't think moral values have gone anywhere. They're all there. People cannot change their moral values overnight. But challenges come. Why did they create Black Lives Matter? Because black lives were in danger. White lives were not in danger. So the moment there is equality between whites and blacks, naturally there will be no need for a Black Lives Matter movement. That was the creation of a particular time in history when people were desperate. And therefore, this is something that we can expect, that there will be normalcy in this respect.
Okay, sir. Another question. The new policy of welcoming migrants, that really good for America? Means new policy of supporting.
You mean migration policy?
Yeah.
Yes, he has already said that the migration policy will change. But remember that all Americans are reluctant about migration, not only Republicans or Donald Trump. Because basically they feel that their country should be left alone to develop. And all these people should not come and take away their jobs and their opportunities. And that is a general sense in the Americans. But it is an immigrant country, the whole country. There is no American, the so-called real Americans are not to be visible. So it's a migrant country, and it has been friendly to all migration from all over the world. But now, having settled down in the United States, the same migrants feel that they are being deprived of certain things. So that sense of complaints may still be there. It will not disappear. But it will not be uncontrolled fear like what Mr. Trump unleashed. It will be a thoughtful, orchestrated, balanced policy that will come like in the past. And the Indian Americans also feel comfortable that now there is someone like them is in the White House or near the White House as Vice President. So there will be general improvement in the situation.
Okay, sir. Sir, one more question that is from Santosh Kumar R. Sir, what may be the role of Biden in creating a new world order after the COVID era? Does he concentrate on new medical research rather than defense development?
No, he cannot exclude defense development. There is a huge military industrial complex in America, which also has to survive. So, and that is also linked with research. These are not, they cannot separate vegetarian and non-vegetarian research. So what progress you make in scientific discoveries will also be applicable to military applications. So these cannot be separated. Of course, he will follow a peaceful kind of policy, but the rise of China is a real threat. And so he cannot forget military preparedness. But he will not focus too much on it, and the whole world, he has to give the lead in a peaceful world. In fact, Obama had spoken about a nuclear weapon-free world. He was the first president to talk about it, because all other presidents used to say, we cannot do without nuclear weapons. But in a famous speech in Prague, soon after he became the president, he made that famous speech where he said, not in my time, not in my successor's time, but sometime America will renounce nuclear weapons. And that is India's policy also. The sooner the better. You may remember in 1988, Rajiv Gandhi presented a plan to the United Nations to eliminate all nuclear weapons. But at that time, we had no nuclear weapons, so nobody believed us. But now, even with the nuclear weapons with us, we are promoting disarmament.
Okay. Sir, another question from Binoy Kurian. His question is, what is your take on the involvement of Kamala Harris in the policies of the president?
And she is his vice president. What choice does she have?
Okay.
They work together as a team. They had differences. She had criticized Biden when she was trying for the nomination, presidential nomination.
Okay.
And she criticized him very much on one or two issues. But now they are the best of friends, soulmates. So these things happen in politics.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir. We are at the end of our webinar, international webinar. Thank you very much. Now I would like to invite Professor Midun John for rendering vote of thanks.
Okay. At the end of this illuminating session, I will take this opportunity to register our sincere thanks on behalf of St. George's College. Today, we were really lucky to have such an eminent personality, Ambassador Trippi Sreenivasan with us. Sir, we were very keenly listening to you and your talk, and we had very fruitful interaction too. And the session helped us to clear our faded views and concerns about American democracy and election. Sir, we are really enlightened with your knowledge and presences. On behalf of St. George's College, Arivithura, I express our sincere thanks to you, sir. I would like to express our sincere thanks and gratitude to our beloved manager, Dr. Agustin Palikaparambil, and our principal, Dr. Reggie Varghese Mekadan, and our respected bursar and course coordinator, Father George Pulikalai, for their continuous support and encouragement. I also express our sincere thanks to our accuracy coordinator, Dr. Giuliani George, Dr. Sumesh George, and all the teachers, students, and all the participants for the active participation and support. Thank you all. And the meeting is over.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.